right. So, good evening, everybody. Today is Tuesday, October 7th. It's 6:30 p.m. Pacific time. What does that mean? It is the start of our District 21 guest event and Speechcraft 101 session. My name is Melody Helleouet, and I am your program quality director. And I am joined today by a few of my esteemed colleagues. We have a lot to tell you about, and glad to have you here with us. First and foremost, I will point out the master of our Zoom event tonight is Mr. Shawn O'Hara. If you are experiencing any technical difficulties or have any questions with your audio or your visual, please feel free to send Shawn a message in the chat or direct in the chat. I am also joined by my co-hosts, of whom I will introduce shortly. If you have any questions, let's make this an interactive evening today. Please feel free to put your questions in the chat. We won't know if we're hitting the right notes unless we get your questions. So do ask us along the way. Don't be shy. We have scheduled and planned some flexibility around your engagement tonight. So please ask along the way. A few housekeeping items. If you do have any distractions in the background or any audio distractions, please feel free. You should have the ability to turn your camera on or off or mute or unmute yourself throughout the session. And if not, don't worry, your Zoom master is on top of it as well. And of course, it's for everybody's comfort so that we can focus on the goods tonight. So the goods tonight are the topic of running guest events, or what is also known as an open house, as well as Speechcraft sessions. Show of hands, who here has ever run a guest event or an open house? Okay, so we've got a few people. I also noticed some people did not put their hand up. And so for those of you, know that we are speaking to you tonight, and we would love to get your questions, ideas, and engagement throughout. Second question, who have ever run a Speechcraft project for your club? Okay, so a few hands going up, but also a few hands that I did not see go up. And so very interesting to see what our group today will discuss and learn about together in the next hour and a half. Before officially starting, I'd like to also introduce one of our most honorable district leaders, and that is your district director. Please welcome Louisa Davis and one of two of her feline friends in the background. One that has not exited out the window.
The window is closed right now, so that one is Tigger.
Hi, Tigger. Louisa, do you have any words that you'd like to share just to quickly address our group this evening before we start?
Yeah, two things. Well, first of all, I hope that everyone has joined the 101 challenge, that you're putting on a guest event sometime this month or early in November, depending on your club rhythm. And I also wanted to say that Speechcraft is the answer if you're trying to get more members, if you're trying to get your club members more engaged in the Pathways program, and if you want to have more fun at your club. So I'm looking forward to hearing what Shawn Gold has to say on that topic tonight.
Thank you, Louisa. All right. Before we start, does anyone have any questions? Okay. I will introduce my fellow co-host, and proud to say that we owe her thanks because this 101 session was actually inspired by a DTM project that she is pursuing. Now, she already has her DTM, so this is an ambitious person that we're talking about here. She is a spiritual coach. She's also a author as well, and also one of our area directors this year. Please help me welcome Sephora Pierre-Louis.
Thank you, Madam PQD, fellow Toastmasters and distinguished guests. Good evening and welcome. My name is Sephora Pierre-Louis, and I'm honored to serve as Area 73 Director for this Toastmasters year and as your host tonight. I'm to be here alongside DTM Mark Hurrell and DTM Shawn Gold, who bring incredible experience and insights to this session. Tonight, our focus is on two powerful tools that help clubs grow, inspire new members, and build momentum: open houses, or guest speakers, and Speechcraft. This session is part of something much bigger, our district-wide celebration of Toastmasters 101 anniversary. We are calling it the 101 Week Challenge. One special week in October dedicated to celebrating our legacy, welcoming guests, and inspiring new members to join the Toastmasters family. By the end of tonight's training, you will walk away with best practices for planning and running a memorable open house, for launching a Speechcraft program, and clear next step for participating in the 101 Week Challenge. Together, we are not just running events, we are building opportunities for transformation. Thank you for being here tonight and for investing in your clubs, your members, and the future of our district. Tonight, Mark will share strategies for running a high-impact open house or guest events, and Shawn will walk us through Speechcraft, a proven program that helps convert guests into members. Together, these two are the building blocks on the 101 Challenge. Our first trainer, distinguished Toastmaster Mark Hurrell, has been a Toastmasters for the last 13 years. He has served in multiple clubs and district officer roles in both District 21 and the former District 96. During that time, Mark has helped organize over 8 guest events for 3 different clubs and has visited more than 50 clubs across BC. More, you've heard well, many during their guest events. To share practical tips and resources for running a successful guest event, please help me welcome our District 21 Club's Growth Director, DTM Mark Hurrell.
Thank you very much, Sephora, and thank you everyone for attending here tonight. I'm going to share my screen, so we'll hope for no challenges with our technology. Can everyone see a PowerPoint presentation? I see thumbs, I see nods. So good, our technology is agreeing with us tonight. So our first topic is going to be about guest events, also known as open houses. You'll hear me use those two terms interchangeably throughout. We're going towards the guest events just because we found that some non-Toastmasters get a bit confused on the terminology. They hear open house, they think real estate. They think that they can just come at any time, there's no structure. That's not necessarily true. So as you go through different resources, see different things, you'll hear both terms. So just understand that if I say guest event, I'm talking about open house. If I say open house, it can be a guest event. It's just interchangeable terms. So in terms of our agenda tonight, just want to cover the basics of what a good guest event or open house looks like. So first, what is it? Second, how do we promote it? Third, how do we structure the meeting? Fourth, how do the members support the event? Fifth, how do we reap the benefits of holding one? And lastly, what tools or resources are available? So I'm going to try to go through each of these sections. Then once I've completed, there's going to be 10 minutes for questions. So feel free to post questions in the chat throughout, but we'll address them at the end once we're in our Q&A section. So with that, let's start off with our first topic. What is a guest event or open house? Put simply, A guest event or open house is meant to showcase Toastmasters to prospective members, so as people that want to become a Toastmaster. Want to highlight the benefits of joining your club, not just any club. Why should they join you? And third, want to demonstrate the value of communication and leadership development, so they see what the benefit is of becoming a Toastmaster. For me, my personal rule of thumb is if your guest event looks like your meeting last week, it wasn't really a guest event. It should be a bigger scale, should have a different energy, and it's all about the guest's needs. How to give them the information, resources, and value propositions they see that they want to join. So everyone can take a different approach to what a guest event or open house looks like. There's no right or wrong way. But if you have only one guest in the room, it's not exactly a successful guest event. So next up, how do we promote that? The most successful strategy for any club to gain members is to invite family, friends, acquaintances as guests. Word of mouth is our most effective way of building members. So the same thing goes with an open house or guest event. If we invite people, they're more likely to come. Not that's a strategy I necessarily recommend, but the most successful open house I ever went to had 25 guests. As the club president said, if you're not bringing a guest, don't come. So every single member brought 1 or 2 guests with them. So making sure that people are sending that message out will help get people in. Now, perhaps you've run dry, you're not sure who to bring. Another option is to use social media. So you can post to LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, whatever type of accounts your club might have, to try to say, hey, we're having this event. But the crucial part is your members must share that post. If you're just posting it for yourselves, unless people are already following you, they're not going to bring in anyone new. It's when the members share it through their personal accounts to get to their network, that's when the power of social media happens. So if your members aren't further sharing it, it's not really going to have a big effect. There's also different event platforms such as Eventbrite, Meetup, or even Facebook events where you can post it publicly. One club that I was coaching a few years ago had some success with posting it in a Facebook community group for their local city. So it had 10,000 members in that Facebook group, all of which are looking for things to do in town. So when they post that open house there, they had more guests coming because people in the community could see, oh, this is happening nearby. So posting to some public platforms like Eventbrite, Meetup, or Facebook events can also help out. And of course, there's always the old classic, printing off a flyer, posting it on bulletin boards around the community. My original club, Walnut Grove Toastmasters, met at the Walnut Grove Community Center. So when we had an open house, we tried to put up a flyer in the community center to say, this is happening on this day at this time, to try and bring guests in. And just for the fact of being community center, people walking through, that can be really effective. So based on where your club is located, that can always work well. But let's say you're not a community club, maybe you're a corporate club. Then maybe your company has a newsletter or a bulletin for an internal portal. So then if you're able to get something posted there, then your fellow coworkers could see that and then attend. So it takes a bit of creativity to figure out what's the right strategy for your club and your ideal guest. So those are my first tips about how do we promote. The next is what should that meeting actually look like? As I said earlier on, if it looks like your meeting last week, probably wasn't a guest event. So one of the most effective things that I've found is try to make sure that you have greeters at the door to welcome all the guests in. Make sure that they're not coming in wondering, is this the right place? What's going on? Have someone welcome them at the door, help them find a seat, maybe even introduce them to a club member that they can talk to and ask questions of. A warm welcome helps them feel at ease right from the bat. The second thing that I think is really important for an open house is to have a short speech, could be 5 minutes, could be a bit longer at 10 minutes, depending on your needs. Just talking about what is Toastmasters? What does the program actually look like? And later on, when I get to resources, I'll share a template created by Toastmasters International that you can use and adapt, going through exactly that. But it's important, since this is supposed to be a room of many guests, to explain what actually is a Toastmasters Club. Maybe they've heard it from their friend or a member that invited them, Maybe they just saw your ad on Facebook but don't know anything else. So actually walking them through can help them understand more about what is a Toastmasters Club. Another thing that I found really effective for my own open houses is doing an educational speech as part of the event. Maybe that's about 5 to 7 minutes on how to overcome your public speaking fears. Maybe it's your top 5 tips on public speaking. Something that's educational and lets people walk away saying, I learned something from this. What more could I learn by joining? So having at least those 2 speeches would set you off on a really strong footing. Why I did an open house way back in about 2014, I decided to do a little bit of research and did a panel of about 24 people to ask them what would they look for in an open house. Nothing Toastmasters, all just people that I knew around. The one theme that surprised me but was repeated on and on is that for the open house, they wanted to see our strongest speakers. They wanted to see something aspirational of, here's the skills that I could have after joining, rather than seeing the first person doing their icebreaker. So if you're able to find your really strong speakers to promote, here's where you can be, here's the mentors you can learn from, that can also create a really strong impression at that guest event. Another really important part, make sure that there's a chance for guests to ask questions. Maybe like today, you'll have a Q&A session, or maybe you'll just have a longer networking break so they can talk to the different members and just get their questions answered. The guests are there to learn more, so give them that chance to find out what's important to them. So either Q&A or a longer networking break. And if you do have a longer networking break, I do recommend having food or drinks, something to make it a bit more casual, a bit more exciting, and to just allow them to network more. Many clubs will do an open house or a guest event. We'll invite a guest speaker that can really do a lot for bringing up the energy with your own club members, because then they might be really excited to hear from someone new or someone from district or outside. My personal recommendation is to try to go through your guests or through your club members first, just so that you're promoting your club and not someone that belongs to a club, say in White Rock. But just try to focus on our members first, because those are the people that they'll interact with every single week if they decide to join. But once again, there's no right or wrong to how you want to structure it. So if you think a guest speaker can really draw people in, there's nothing wrong with that either. And another thing that I think is really important for this meeting structure, give your club officers a chance to introduce themselves. Maybe that's through a round robin or a introduction at the beginning of the meeting, maybe just before the break. But if your club officers stand and let them know that I'm the club president, I'm the treasurer, I am the VP membership, then when those guests have questions, they know exactly, oh, I need to talk to this person. So they're not wondering, who do I talk to, and might accidentally ask a member who joined last week, who probably doesn't have all the answers just yet. So letting the guests know who to ask questions of later on also is a really strong strategy. And next, how do the members support the event? As I said, for promotion, all members can and should invite guests. An open house is not a one-man job, it's a club effort. So if everyone is inviting guests, it's going to create a lot more excitement, a lot more energy in the room. Now, say you want to have an open house food and drinks at your open house, you might need a budget. Or maybe you're going to be so wildly successful that your normal meeting space is not big enough for all of your guests. So maybe you need to rent a slightly bigger room for the night. If those are the cases, you might need an open house budget, which case you can vote on that at your club meeting, and the treasurer can help prepare a budget for that. So that's where a treasurer can help with the open house. And of course, the VP Public Relations will help promote the event. But again, it's not all on the VP PR. They might put out the social media post, but if the members can share that post, that's how you get to the wider audience. The VP membership might help with following up with the guests to email them to say, how'd you find the open house? Would you like to join? Do you have questions? But if you say have 50 guests, that's a lot on the VP membership. So if we can help them out with follow-up as well, even better, especially if we were able to bring guests ourselves. I mentioned having greeters. The Sergeant Arm can always help out with greeting the guests, opening the meeting to create that strong opening impression. and the VP Education might help plan the agenda and speakers. Even though I've identified these as roles for the club officers, again, it's all a club effort. Perhaps someone has a DTM project and wants to really do a fantastic open house. That could be their DTM project. They can enlist their own members from the club to help organize it. So even if these people are doing these roles, let's not say VPPR only can or VP Education only can. Again, team effort. And next, how do we get the benefits? How do we make sure that this open house is actually leading us to getting new members? First, make sure that there's a physical or a digital guest book that all the guests are filling out. If you have no way to track the guests, how can you follow up to make sure that they enjoyed it or want to join? So making sure that you have contact information for your guests is very important. Next, making sure that the VP membership, or at least someone, is in charge of following up afterward. Make sure that you're letting the guests know, hey, we really enjoyed that you were there. How did you find the meeting? Would you like to join or come back next week? Especially if you did not use the same meeting room you normally do, you want to make sure that they know, here's where we normally meet, so don't go back to the wrong place. Making sure that you have some materials available for all the guests. Maybe that's some flyers, maybe that's a sample icebreaker so they can see what a speech project looks like. Definitely a membership application form so they can join, so they can see how that works. But just having something available so that they can walk away with more information than when they entered the room. So I've covered a lot of information for you, but I also have good news. We also have resources for you. I'm going to share a couple with you right now. So I'm going to drop this into the chat before we get to the Q&A, but I'll walk you through it a bit right now. So we have an open houses resource document that I prepared for you. The first is an introduction to Toastmasters open house slide presentation. So if I click on the link right here, you can download the presentation from TI. If my internet will load it. And we have a ready-made slideshow right for your open house, talking about what is Toastmasters, what will members learn from Toastmasters, what's the Toastmasters Club experience look like, what's pathways, etc., etc. You can download it and customize it for your club needs. So you have a ready-made presentation all about what a person who doesn't know what Toastmasters is might need to know. Next, open house flyers. This one's a little bit more complicated, so I'll do this one a different way. Just to share this one here. Toastmasters International has also created customizable ready-made flyers to promote your open house. So for example, it's gonna up on the right screen. We have a save the date flyer where you can put in your club name, location, date and time, as well as your own photos to promote your club and your club members. We also have some other ones. Say this one, for example. Open house, has a quote, has a photo ready to go, club name, location, date and time. So again, ready-made flyers that you can customize, put out to promote your event. There's multiple ones to choose from, so you can figure out whichever one looks the best to you and what's going to make the most sense for your club's needs. We also have here an article from Toastmasters International from 2023 going through best practices and tips on how to organize an open house. So you can hear from members like Rose Curlin from Hawaii. You can hear from Bob Huey from Alberta. So tips from Toastmasters around the world on their success strategies for doing open houses. Another one that I want to highlight here, which is from the District 21 and District 57, is we have a guest event kit on our district Google Drive. So this was created by District 57, but curated thanks to our district director, Louisa, going through activities and timelines, agendas, email templates, flyers and promotions, table topic ideas, everything you could want to create your own guest event as well as open house. My presentation, as well as resources, can also be found there too. And then I think the final thing I want to go through here, I think I want to show you this one. So whether your event is online or in person, Toastmasters also has a digital guest package they created, which is Why Toastmasters. I have an article explaining it here, but if you go to the actual link, this is basically made for guests to help them explain what is Toastmasters, what's in it for me, etc. So if you're an online only club, this can basically be your guest kit. If you're an in-person club, you could still curate some resources or direct people there. So all sorts of samples to help you get that information out to make sure people are walking away with more information. Oh, click the wrong button. Bear with me a moment, I'll get that back up. So yes, I'm going to put this in the chat so you can go through all these resources to figure out which ones can help you most. And hopefully this will help you feel ready to create the best open house or guest event. This one is not online, but to give you an idea of another thing that I've done in the past. So we've talked about open houses, but we've also mentioned the word guest event. So I'll give you an example of something that was not exactly an open house, but was still guest event mindset. Back in 2018, my original club, Walt Grove Toastmasters, turned 15 years old. So we decided to have a big event to celebrate that. In order to do that, we did what was called a We Miss You campaign and reached out to every single past member we could find to invite them back. So it wasn't necessarily for people who had never heard from Toastmasters, but for people that hadn't been at our club in 1 year, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, to see if they want to come back. And we created this with a welcome, listing all of our achievements as a club, talking through the event agenda with how the club start, words from our members to talk about the celebrations and their good times from being a member. And we even had sponsors with McDonald's, Booster Juice, and Save On providing food that we gave out at the event. So all sorts of different ways that you can put on a great show and invite old members back or new people to join. And with that, I'm going to go back to the PowerPoint.
Mark,
Yes?
you've got a question from Pallavi in the chat.
If you like, you can read it out. Otherwise, we're about at the Q&A session in just a moment. So I can get to the questions in just a second. So that was kind of my high-level overview of resources. So just to summarize, the guest event and open house is meant to highlight Toastmasters. We promote it both in person and online. In terms of the agenda, we'll structure it all around your guests' needs, what they want to learn, what they need to know. And how do members support it? All members support it either by inviting people or helping run it. And how do you get the benefits? Follow up and you give materials. And from there, we're at the questions. So I'll stop my share so that way I can actually see the chat and answer questions.
Great slides, Mark. Let's show some support. And yeah, that definitely deserves a round of applause. Thank you, Mark. I learned some things today. That was like an outstanding anniversary booklet, the We Miss You campaign. It's very inclusive. And I bet, did you have a lot of returning members come back after you did that open house? Tell us from a little bit more about that.
From the anniversary events, I think we had about 5 to 8 guests from it. So not as many as we had hoped with inviting 169, but still good turnout. And I think we had 3 people either come back or join shortly after that. So we did have some good success. Our most successful open house we ever had 3 members join at the end of the night.
Very cool.
In terms of questions, I do see Pallavi's in the chat. So in terms of, is it recommended to have table topics for an open house? I'd say it's fully up to the club. I personally think table topics is great, just so that you can highlight one of the key aspects of the Toastmaster program. But in an open house setting, I'd be cautious of how it's handled. So in terms of the guests, I definitely want to speak to the guests in advance before asking them to join up and do a table topic. But I'll be very careful for those that have a big fear of public speaking, not to be put on the spot to say, yes, come up. So during a networking break or before the meeting, if you can talk to them and say, yes, they're willing, then absolutely give it a try. Otherwise, if you focus more on the members, that's great. And depending on what you want to do with the open house, you could center them around an open house theme, or you could make it just about Toastmasters in general. So table topics are still a great idea. Do we have some other questions?
I've got a question from somebody who is not in the meeting tonight, but they wanted me to ask you as our presenter, how far in advance should a club start planning their guest event open house? What's a reasonable time frame?
That is a great question, and I'd say there's no right or wrong answer to that either. I'd say an ideal situation might be 1 month. That's not to say it can't be done in 1 week, 2 week, 3 weeks. The key thing is that if we want to have a lot of guests, we need to give guests time to both see our promotion and figure out their calendar that they can attend it. So if you try to plan it with only 24 hours notice, your members will be caught off guard and your guests will be caught off guard. So it's probably not going to go too well. But 1 month would be ideal. And depending on how big you want to do, you could always go longer. With that anniversary event that I showcased, we had 6 months of planning for that. So we planned that out far, far in advance.
Awesome, awesome. Any other questions? I remembered a few hands that went up at the start of the meeting for those that says, yes, they have put on an open house before. Would any of you like to share with the group a little bit about how you planned and kind of how your open house experience went, and maybe something that you can share with the rest of the group? Any volunteers? Nancy.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so very much for a great presentation, and thanks, Mark. What I really try to promote, because I'm a gung-ho pathways person, is to use a level 4 project to create that planning team. It's really important. If you're going to do anything, it's better planned than not, as Mark alluded to. And if you've got like 3 weeks in advance, you can get your team together 3 or 4 times before the actual event. Make the social media presentation, get the word out there. The food, we try to do potluck just so that no one has to take the full force of supplying food. It can be done on a potluck basis, but make it so that somebody gets a credit out of this, right? I mean, just do a level 4, managing a project successfully. It can be, and you walk away with somebody getting a credit for it.
That's great advice. Yeah, I remember our DTM chair for District 21, Art Dodd, actually saying anytime you go up to speak, make sure you get credit for it. And running an open house is, an event in and of itself, and there's definitely speaking opportunities there. So always make it count if you can. And so, yes, great. Great share, Nancy. Thank you so much. Anybody else? Helena.
Yes. Okay, my question for Mark is, thank you, Mark, for the excellent presentation. I'm just wondering, I like the idea of including an education session in the open house. So what would you suggest regarding the education session?
That's a great question. So in terms of education session, I'd say it can really vary based on the club. I quite like having the top 5 tips for public speaking as when I had a very early open house with my club. That one was really popular with all of our guests. But Toastmasters does have an education series called the Better Speaker Series. So you have multiple selections from there, which talks about how do you choose a speech topic, how do you open a speech, how do you close a speech. So anything from there could also be really strong for an education session. As we also said, the club might choose a theme. So maybe you want to talk more about impromptu speaking skills. So maybe you could talk about how do you do a great table topic and do that for an education session. So I keep it very basic level for the guests that don't know what Toastmasters is, but they're walking away with a skill that they can really use going from the room.
Yeah, that's excellent. Thank you, Mark, and thank you, Louisa, for that. Okay, I might email you then, Mark, to get more info on that. Thank you.
Sounds great. Thank you.
Thank you. Louisa.
I wanted to mention, I put it in the chat that we have a speakers bureau. If you're looking for a Toastmasters speaker that has been proven, they are all Toastmasters, they've been vetted, and they are excellent trainers. So you can't go wrong with that list. We will be working to update it with a few more names in there, but there's a good 15 or 20 on there right now. Also wanted to mention, well, maybe Mark, you can mention the District Bucks program for the open houses.
By all means, Louisa, feel free to go through the District Bucks program. You are the expert.
Okay, the District Bucks, the guest event incentive is for clubs with 15 or less members before the open house or guest event happens. You need to submit proof of the actual promotion and a document that has how many members you had, how many guests attended the meeting, and how many guests were converted to members. And currently that is $50 Canadian for the District Bucks program. We will be revising it if it becomes too popular to stay within our budget. So the way to reclaim those dollars is through your Concur account with your treasurer, and they can contact me or David Nguyen if they need more help with that. But definitely worth considering getting funding for your open house.
Absolutely. Thank you, Louisa. If anyone's not sure about the steps they need to take for the reimbursement, could you put a link in the chat for the District Bucks incentive too? Thank you. Oh, I
I
see
will
Melody
do
put a
that.
summary too.
Yeah, I will add the District Bucks details in there. And any other last comments? Was it informative for you? Did you learn something tonight? Yes, thank you, Jan, for your affirmation. And if you have never held a guest event open house before, you've got all the resources literally handed to you tonight by our club growth director. You've got District Bucks incentive to look forward to for those of you that have 15 members or less before the open house start. We have all of our social channels available for you to link out to. You can find those on our district d21toastmasters.ca website so that you can easily post and promote on our Facebook page. And we also have things like our WhatsApp communities and our Slack channels that you can also get involved in as well to help promote your event. We want to see all of your promotions in the next few weeks, whether you've got 15 members or less or more. We'd ideally like to see them at least twice a year. So if you haven't started planning, the time to start is now. So we're here to support you. Please speak to your area directors and your division directors for anything that you might need in terms of support along the way. So our conversation tonight will be continued. Thank you, Mark. Round of applause for Mark. Thank you, thank you. I will pass it back to Sephora, who will introduce and bridge us into our next half of the meeting.
Thank you, Madame PQD. Thank you, Mark, for those practical and inspiring insights on how to plan and run a successful open house or guest event. Let me quickly connect this to our 101 week challenge. The reason we are hosting this special session tonight. So between October 18 and the 25, clubs across District 21 are invited to host one special meeting, and it can be a guest event or open house to celebrate Toastmasters 101 anniversary. If your club meets once a month or every other week, no worries. You can still host your event anytime close to that week and still qualify. How to enter the challenge? Every club that need to register. I've sent the QR code link, and I'm going to put it again in the chat today if you haven't done that. And you enter the challenge, you host your event, and there is another link after your event to submit a short report where you share with us how many members you had, how many guests you had during that session, and how many speeches. Why the speeches? The speeches is just to see how many speeches we have been able to have across all our clubs during that season of celebration. And you will also enter the divisional prize draw. I will tell you more after Shawn's presentation. Now, to complement what Mark shared about guest event, we'll explore another powerful way to attract and retain members, which is Speechcraft. Our next presenter, distinguished Toastmaster Shawn Gold, has been a Toastmasters for nearly 15 years. He has served in every club role and most district roles, including district director in 2018 and 2019. Along the way, he has achieved 4 distinguished Toastmasters. You heard 4 times. And he has supported at least 10 Speechcraft programs. For his latest DTM, he even conducted an in-depth study on how to make Speechcraft a sustainable pathway for membership growth and engagement. Tonight, he will share how you can turn guests into confident members. You want them to come to your guest event, to attend the event, but you surely want them to come back and become a member and create a culture of learning and leadership in your club. Please join me in welcoming DTM Shawn Gold for the next session.
Oh, thank you very much, Sephora, and thank you to our distinguished guests, Louisa and Melody and Mark, for your participation in this event. Okay, so let me just jump in, get ready to share a screen, and hopefully get the right information up here. Get that thing in there, and put this thing into the right mode, and hide this screen. And if you guys can see that okay, just give me a thumbs up.
Looks good.
Okay. So as Sephora said, this is about Speechcraft. This is a quick start guide. This is intended to use this as a tool to get your members, to get new members. It's a very powerful tool, and I have been blessed with the opportunity to see it run many, many, many times and participate in several of them. Leading them as a coordinator, that's how I get the extra DTMs, is that by just leading a Speechcraft, you get one extra credit that can be used for that DTM by running a Speechcraft. But what I've found is that you can run these Speechcrafts, and it's relatively easy to get new members from it. Retention of those can be a challenge, so I want to talk about some of those things and some of the challenges that you can deal with in here. But most people I talk to about Speechcraft are somewhat fearful of it. And so I want to try to dismiss some of those fears and show you how flexible and easy it really is to run one. And that's what we'll be talking about today. And I want this to be interactive, so please feel free to either unmute or to pop questions into the chat along the way, and I will stop and answer questions along the way. I don't like this to be a full a one-way discussion or one-way presentation. I like it to be more of a dialogue. All right, so those rules under the table. Let's talk about the agenda. We'll talk about what is Speechcraft, so just get a bit background for those of you who are not familiar with it, what it is, and then show how it relates to the Pathways Education Program. A lot of people are fearful of something different, and yet what Toastmasters has done is strive to make there's some similarities in there, and we'll talk about that. What credit you get when you take when you take a Speechcraft program, which you can get towards continuing your education when you become a member, how you can interact the program with the club, how you need to interact it, how flexible it is to do that. And that's where the greatest flexibility comes. And we'll talk about something that Sephora and Sephora did last year. Was it last year? Was it already last year? Yeah, it was. Maybe it was this year, earlier this year. It was like we had an amazing program where we played with the flexibility, and we'll talk about that. How to do it, what are all the tools you needed, and that includes the where to go to get information, talk about the benefits of it and the summary, and then lots of time for questions. But as I said, throw questions up there along the way is fine. Are you ready to go? Are you excited? Okay, let's learn something about Speechcraft. So what is it? Well, it is very similar to Pathways. It's an online training material. So before it used to be a book, just like the old legacy training systems within Toastmasters, it used to be a book or manuals. And that's great. I'm glad that, and I still have a set that I haven't used. So I paid the $50 US for a set, and I still have them because the online is so much easier to work with and so much nicer. You do have to register, go online. We'll talk about that later. And the interface is now, it was incorporated to look just like Speechcraft in a lot of ways. It is part of the Speechcraft system, essentially. The Pathways program, it's very similar to it. It's designed to look a lot like it, and it was designed, I think, by the same organizing team. You can offer the program either in person, online, or hybrid, so it's a lot of flexibility, just like running a regular Pathways education program or any club meetings. And you learn the basic skills of being a better communicator and leader. So those are the similarities. Where there's some differences is that it's fee-based versus you're not an active member. It's intended to be for people who have a short-term, fast-paced need that want to come in and get some skills. So when you're running an open house, which Mark gave you some great ideas, if people say, yeah, I'm not interested, I need to get this done now. I've got a wedding that I've got to be the MC of in 6 months from now. What can you do for me? Or I'm going to be officiating at my daughter's wedding, or I'm going to be, I've got something going on at work. I've got to do a major presentation. What can you do to get me going quickly? I want to ace this exam. I want to ace this exam. I want to ace this exam, but this interview, I want to make sure I can do that. So what are the skills that you can get to me quickly? And that's where this is ideal. And then once you've got them in that fast-paced mode, then once you get them into the Speechcraft, it's not that difficult to swing them over and say, if you just stick around now, you'll get so much better and you'll be able to advance. But you got to get them to take the bait first. So this is the first one, is to show it, focus on, it's a quick fix solution. You're going to learn the basics, but you're not going to be demonstrating necessarily expertise in the program. You will be giving presentations and things like that, but you won't have a lot of chance to get really, really good at one particular area because you're going to be advancing it along, and you're going to keep compounding the skills going forward, but it's not focused on that long term. It's focused again on that short paced startup, getting going. And you can get education credit, but you don't automatically get education credit. You can get it, but you have to join Toastmasters in order to get it. So that's the differences in it. Okay. Again, if you have any questions, unmute or throw them up on the chat, and if I see them, I'll let you know. So let's talk about the Speechcraft versus Pathways in more detail. This is an eye chart. I apologize for that. On the right-hand side is the Pathway stuff. On the left-hand side is Speechcraft. But if you start to look a little closely, you start to see some similarities, and let me help you out a little bit. Most of the stuff that's covered in Speechcraft is covered in level 1 of the Pathways. Some of it is covered in level 2, and some of it actually is covered into level 3. And that's intentional. And one of the things that they did in Pathways, I don't know if you remember, but about a year and a half ago, they made some changes to level 1. And those changes in level 1 may have frustrated some people. They pleased me immensely because I said they aligned it with Speechcraft. Pathways got realigned with what's in Speechcraft because Speechcraft already made sense, but there was some things that we were doing in Pathways that wasn't quite as clear. And so when they realigned it, I said, it's a really nice, clear picture that we have there. So Pathways and Speechcraft are very, very similar at the beginning part, at that level 1. Now, I'll get into it in a minute, but that's the basics of that. And you don't have to be fearful of it. But if you look at the level 1 within pathways, you can see a lot of what you're going to cover, most of what you're going to cover in Speechcraft. All right. So I said that you can get credit. It's an option. If you join Toastmasters after you finish a Speechcraft program, you can get credit. So if you did 7 speeches, you can get a full level 1 completion plus 2 level 3 electives plus the introduction to Toastmasters mentoring. I was kind of showing that in the graphic image on the other side. And it works back. Now, this depends on how many speeches you're going to give, which gets into how long do you run a Speechcraft session. And that's a very good question. I'm glad you asked that. How long do you run a Speechcraft session? Now, I can't see you, but I'm going to go throw this out there and just throw up something on the screen. I don't know what you can do, but how many people think that a Speechcraft is 4 weeks? Just think about that. I can't see it, but I'm just going to guess. How many of you think it's 6 weeks long? And how many of you think of it's 8 weeks long? Okay, now the next question, which I still can't see your answers, but I'm going to say, how many think it has to be within 4 to 6 weeks? Because that's the terrible question. All right, and most of you probably thought, well, it has to be 4 to 6 weeks, or 4 to 8 weeks. Sorry, 4 to 8 weeks, 4, 6, or 8. That's what you're probably thinking. But that's not true. It doesn't have to be 4, 6, or 8. Let's talk about how you run a Speechcraft program. And this gets into a lot of the minutia of it. It is promoted as a 4, 6, or 8 week program. That's how it's promoted. All the documentation will say you run it as a 4 week or a 6 week or an 8 week. It's up to you. If you run it as a 4 week, you only have time to cover so many education components and get so many speeches. Well, that's what they imply, but that's not true either, because if you ran it in 4 sessions, but you had those as 2.5-hour sessions or 3-hour sessions, you could have everyone do 2 speeches in a session. If you have 5 people, it's typically 5 people in a Speechcraft. You're trying to sell them in packages or blocks of 5. You could have 10 people in it and have them in breakout rooms. You could have 20 people in it. It doesn't matter. It depends on how many facilitators you can have to manage it. So it really matters on how many people you can get into it and how you can sell this up front. So you're selling it, and we'll get into that in a bit. But you can have it as a separate meeting and have as many people as you want in it, and have it run as long as you want, if you want, and cover as many subjects areas as you want. And so people could complete the entire equivalent of an 8-week program in 4 weeks, or in 6 weeks, or in 8 weeks, or in 20 weeks. We'll get to that, because it doesn't have to be restricted to just that 4, 6, or 8. So there's ways to run it. Let's talk about the first one here. It says fully integrated. You can run a Speechcraft program within your club, where you have a regular club meeting. Your club meets on Monday night. My club meets on Monday night, which is terrible because it's always a holiday Monday, like there's 13 holiday Mondays in a year or something like that. So it's annoying, so we don't have a meetings on the night. But when you do have a meeting, you can have it there. And then you have your regulars come into the meeting. And then you have Speechcrafters potentially come into the meeting, and they're doing stuff. They're giving speeches. They're getting an ed session. They're doing speeches. It's all great. It's all kumbaya. Well, some members might get ticked off saying, well, I wanted to give a speech next week. I was supposed to give a speech. I can't give a speech for 4, 6, or 8 weeks if you're running it in 4, 6, or 8 weeks. So that kind of ticks me off. So I might as well just take off and do something else while you're running the Speechcraft. That's where you get into some nervousness. But you also have clubs that saying, oh, thank God we got some Speechcraft going on, because we haven't had anybody sign up for a speech in 6 months. So there you go. You've got people to bring some excitement and enthusiasm to your meeting, making them fun and interesting. And you got new people, and great. Now you really need them to join, because without them, your meeting goes back to that boring meeting where people just sit around and do table topics. Okay, so that's a fully integrated. You're having it during a regular meeting as a regular part of your club. So you're now going to have to make your meeting a little bit more complicated, because you're going to have Speechcrafters in it. You have to figure out how to work the schedule to make that happen. I'll come back to scheduling in a minute. You can have it partially integrated, though. And that means that you can run part of the meeting in your main room, your main meeting in your main room, and then have the Speechcraft session in another room. So you can have your table topics in your main room where everybody's together, and then have the prepared speech portion where you have one in one room and one in another. And if you're online, then you can have a breakout room. If you're in person, you can have another room in your facility where you go to, and have them do that. So that's fine. That's that left side of the partially integrated. So you have it, the Speechcraft and the regular meetings are running in parallel. There's maybe some overlap, but they're running essentially in parallel, same night. You can have them totally different nights. They don't have to be the same night. And a lot of clubs do that, is that they have their Speechcraft on a different night than their regular club meeting. And that's okay too. It just means that you now have to book the space again for a second thing. It's a shorter term period, and you need some resources to help coordinate it. And that's fine. That's perfectly fine. But a more interesting way, and this is what Sephora and I came up with, I don't know if it was her idea or mine, or we just jointly thought it up, was, well, why don't you have 1 week is Speechcraft and 1 week is regular? Or if you have, and that's one idea, or which we had so many people sign up for a Speechcraft session, we said, why don't we have Speechcraft delay it instead of a 6-week program, we made it a 12-week or 11-week or 13-week. It ended up having to get stretched out because we had too many people. And then we're trying to also have regular people give speeches in there as well. So it ended up being like stretched it out. So there's all kinds of things you can do with Speechcraft. Nothing says it has to be 4, 6, or 8. Nothing says it has to be fully integrated or fully separate, or that it has to be separate nights or anything like that. There are no rules when it comes to this, other than how many speeches Speechcrafters have to give in order to get credit. And you're supposed to do ed sessions within those sessions for them, so that they learn about the basics of this stuff. So there's a lot of flexibility in a partially integrated. And then I have the complete separate where it's separate nights. So that's completely separate nights. I kind of talked about that in the partially by separating it out. But if you have it on separate nights, you're just running completely different. So there's a lot of flexibility here. And for people who are fearful about, well, what's it going to mean for my regular members? Are they going to get frustrated or bored? You don't have to deal with that. You can say, okay, look, if we're concerned about that, here's how we're going to run it. We'll run it 1 week as Speechcraft, 1 week as a regular meeting. Or we'll run it that we have a breakout session and that the Speechcrafters go to another room. And if we can't manage that, then we'll have it on a separate night. Or we can have it that we're going to do things, whatever makes sense for your club. That's what you do. You don't have to follow any code or any special rules that you read in the books and in the guidelines for running Speechcraft. You do what makes sense for your club and for the people that you're trying to bring in. That's what I want to point out with this slide. You have a lot of flexibility, and there's options that I haven't even thought of that you might come up with that'll be just perfectly fine. Okay, are there any questions popping up yet?
No questions, but keep going.
All right.
I'm sure they'll
So
follow.
how do you do all this? How do you get this thing going? How do you kick this thing all off? Well, it may sound complicated, but it really isn't. You're officially, because I haven't figured out how to get around this one, you have to get approval from your club. You have to have a host club, and it has to be approval from your club to do it. So, you can't just go and start up your own Speechcraft program and run it on your own per se without approval from the club. Then you have to schedule some the event logistics. You have to figure out what is it going to be? Where's it going to be at? Is it going to be in our home club on a regular night? Is it going to be in a separate meeting facility? We meet in my amenity room in my condo building. And if I had to do a breakout room, I could have people come up to my apartment and have the breakout for the Speechcrafters in the apartment, and then have the regular meeting people downstairs, and we go back down through the table topics. So the logistics are not complicated. They're whatever you need them to be. You figure it out. You can have them in 2 parts of the same room if you can keep people quiet enough when they're doing speeches that they're not interfering with the other side. So whatever makes the most sense for your organization. Bear in mind that if your members do want to give speeches on a regular basis, that you may have to have that schedule working so that you have them 1 week Speechcraft, 1 week not, or that you lengthen your program, your meeting time, or whatever it takes so that you're not alienating your members. You don't want to alienate your core members if you're running them at the same time. If you run them separate, you don't have to worry about that. But you want to make sure that those Speechcrafters come back and actually join your club. So having a connection with them is really good. You need to charge members a fee, or the speechcrafters a fee. They don't absolutely have to. You're going to be charged a fee. A $50 US fee is a charge from Toastmasters International for a Speechcraft program, which means it's like $1,000 Canadian. But you know, whatever. Apparently, the district will cover it if it's only $50 US. Anyway, it's like $75 Canadian. The district may cover it in certain events. There's a certain district bucks programs for Speechcraft. I'll let Louisa correct me later, which I'm sure she will. Oh, she's got her hand up. Go ahead, Louisa.
Yeah. Toastmasters allows you to charge as much as 1 year of dues. That would be 120 US dollars. That's the maximum that you can charge for the attendees. District Bucks does cover for clubs that are 15 or lower in membership to have the bundle reimbursed, but it's only after you get to the second week of your program. So we know that you've actually started and used the program. You can charge, I'd recommend charging half a year of dues and tell them that it includes 6 months of membership with the dues. That is very much officially done around the world. You can charge a little bit more than that if you have some incidental expenses like photocopies, etc. So that way they've committed to, let's say you announce a 6-week program or 8-week program or 10-week program, whatever it is, but that they would just simply sign the membership form in order to continue on as a member in your club. And then you can submit the paperwork into Toastmasters and sign them up as a member. It is also absolutely not a problem, and a lot of clubs use this for fundraising, where the person opts not to take the membership. You keep the payment that was paid for the Speechcraft. That is considered fundraising dues.
Great. Thank you very much for that, Louisa. So yes, as I have a little asterisk down at the bottom, consider the value and incentive to join the club is an important part. And there's also the cost. So if you have to rent a facility, an additional facility, or pay an additional night for an additional facility, that's where you want to make sure your charges come in there. I'm of the opposite side of Louisa on this one, and that I tend to charge a smaller fee, but a fee that I let them know is reimbursable if they join. But I like to do the slightly smaller because I want to get people in the door, and I think that we scare them off if sometimes we go too big. But that's really up to you. You can charge whatever you want. You're going to be hit with that $50 fee. If you have more than 15 members, you're not going to get any reimbursed bucks back from the district. So bear that in mind, that that's going to be a cost. But sometimes that's a cost worth paying if you think you can get convert these Speechcrafters to members. But I tend to make sure that I charge them the sufficient amount to cover the cost, whatever. That's the minimum that I would charge, is what to cover the cost if they don't join. Okay. By the way, you can offer Speechcraft to a member. It doesn't have to be just for guests, just for non-members. You can have members participate in your Speechcraft program, and they can use it as a fast start. So I had my own club meeting. We ran a Speechcraft, I think it was this year, and we had 5 people who we had 3 guests and 2 members who wanted to participate, but the 3 guests said, you know what, we're just going to join, and they joined the club. So they didn't have to pay the Speechcraft fees, but they got the Speechcraft, and it was great. It was wonderful. And they all got a fast start. They got bumped up really quickly, which is what they wanted to do. They went through the program, and most of them have stayed. So, you know, whatever makes sense for you. Okay. Now, as I mentioned, the Speechcraft bundle is $50 US. That covers 5 participants. So if you have 10 participants officially, and I won't put that in air quotes, and I'm making this officially, you have to pay $100. But if they're members of your club and they want to participate in it, you just don't put them down in the list of the Speechcrafters. You only have to put down as many Speechcrafters as you want to give Speechcraft credit for. If you want to give them Pathways credit, They don't have to be participating in it. They can still participate in the Speechcraft training and giving the speeches, but they don't have to be part of the Speechcraft bundles. They don't have to be listed. They don't have to pay the extra. If you have 5 people who are already members and want to go through it, and it's fine, but you have 3 people who are guests who want to do it, the 3 people could be in the Speechcraft bundle. Or you can add 2 of the ones who are current members and have them in there if you want to make it all 5 of them officially, but you don't have to. They're going to get a little certificate, but it really doesn't mean as much as getting the credit for pathways, which you're going to get anyway, because it's your VP Ed who's going to determine, well, you're as a club officer, determine whether they actually did the project and should get credit for it. And if they do the project in Speechcraft, then they should get credit for it. So again, this is more flexibility than what the paperwork and the documentation supports. And it's not that it doesn't do it, they just don't talk about it. So I want you to be aware that you have a lot of flexibility in this. Okay, now once you buy the bundle, now you have to log into the speechcraft.toastmasters.org. You notice it sort of looks a little bit like pathways.toastmasters.org because it looks exactly like it. It's almost exactly. It's very, very similar. And then you log in as you're going to be the coordinator, and you get the coordinator documentation. We'll talk about that in a little bit. And then you create an event and you specify when you want the event. But that event, the dates may shift and stuff like that. You get 6 months of leeway in whatever date you pick. So you got some flexibility in it. And again, you can say it's a 4-week or a 6-week or an 8-week program, but you could run it as a 20-week, as long as you're done before the end of the 6-month period, because you have to go in there and confirm everybody, whatever they did, they completed, and make sure they get appropriate credit for that. So if they're not members, they're going to get credit so that they do join another club, they can get the credit when they join a club of how many speeches they gave. So you want to make sure that they get that credit. Okay, so you just log in, you create an event, really simple to do. You get your support, you get your team organized, you work out where your logistics are, who are going to be the presenters, because you want to have people who are presenting the education sessions. We'll talk about that in a bit. And you want to have mentors, people who are mentoring the speech crafters along the way. And that's all wonderful. You're going to have fun. You're going to do the training. Yahoo! Everybody comes up and is really excited because they did these speeches. And they feel so good about it, and they're happy and excited. And you give them a certificate at the end, and you ask them to join the club, because if you don't ask them to join the club, I'm never going to speak to you again. Don't miss out that opportunity. That's what you do, and that's essentially it. Now, if there aren't any questions, I'm going to jump to the benefit of this.
You do have actually a few questions.
Oh, sure. Well, then let's go to the questions quick.
Okay, Jonas, would you like to read out your question, or we could do it for you?
I can read it out. It's fine. What was the question? Yeah. So who typically runs the? Can you hear me? Who typically runs a Speechcraft? Like, could it be any member, or does it have to be an exec member?
It doesn't. It can be any member. Anyone who wants to do it. Anyone who wants credit for a DTM, to get that extra DTM credit, can do it. Make sure that they do a little bit of work for it. Don't do all the work. Don't have all the people do the work for them and they get the credit. But yes, you can have anybody do it.
No,
they have to be awesome. They have to be a member of a club in good standing, like that stuff. But yeah, that's it.
Okay.
Any other questions?
I did have a follow-up. I was going to write it in the chat, but I'll just say it here right now. What's the max number that you can have in a like a given period? Was it could it be 10? Could it be more than 10?
There are no maximums. Whatever your logistics can handle. I mean, you want to make sure that you're able to handle it, physically handle it. So you can have 10 rooms going at the same time with 5 people in each. You can have, actually, you don't have to have them in 10 rooms. You can have 5 rooms with 10 people in each, just doing a Speechcraft program, as long as you've got a coordinator, and you're going to need education presenters. Could be you, could be one person doing it all, but that's not with 10 rooms. You can't do that. And you need some mentors, people that are helping the Speechcrafters along. So if your club is big enough, you can handle a lot.
Thank you.
Okay. No problem. Any other questions?
Yes, we've got Jan with a question in there. Jan, would you like to go ahead? Read it out for Shawn?
Sure. As a follow-up to previous discussion, do you have to, does the person running the program have to pay Toastmasters per every 5 Speechcraft participants, because you only get manuals for 5 people in the kit?
So you pay the $50 for every block of 5. And if you have 7, you have to pay $100 because it's 2 blocks. You can't get 7 people into that block of 5. You have to get 5 in a block of 5. You can have 3 in it. You don't have to have 5. You can have 3 people in your Speechcraft program, but you're paying the $50 regardless. If you had
thanks.
7, or if you had 6, you have to pay $100. If you have 11, you have to pay $150 and so on.
Excellent, thanks. And my original question is where do you find draft meeting agendas to run the program?
Oh, there are so many. I mean, first of all, they will provide them when you go into the speechcraft.toastmasters.org site. I find that I use my own because they're just going to tell you a 4-week or 6-week or an 8-week program, and you just need to take a look and say, what are the education sessions that need to be there? What are the speech projects that each of these speech crafters is going to have? And you want to do an ed session on those in advance of them doing it. That's essentially what you're going to be doing as far as the ed sessions go. And you can double them up, have 2 in a meeting. If you have if you want to go through a faster track and make sure that everyone gets it, or you don't even have, you can skip some. Because they're going to be they're supposed to be, it's like pathways. They're supposed to go online and actually do the material. And if they do that, they don't really need to have the presentation, but we like doing the presentations as part of a program. So it's nice to have that. Did I confuse your answer? Okay, good. Anyone else?
I was just going to mention that the Speechcraft kit on the District 21 Google Drive, I've just put the link into the chat, has got a few sample agendas, but it's also got presentations like this one and other tips, tricks, and also a couple of webinars that were done in the last year where you can watch recordings on how to do things and also how to market the program. So Jan, you can get the sample agendas in there. And the other thing I wanted to mention is I learned last year that the education programs being done by the members or invited Toastmasters from other clubs can actually be used as speech credits for the Pathways program. So if your regular members are wanting to give the 5 to 7 minutes of presentations in the education of the Pathways program, they can do that. They make it their own and they present it, and you can do a written evaluation after the fact so that they can use it in the Pathways program. So that's another way around.
Absolutely. Every speech you give in Toastmasters, you can use towards a Pathways education credit if you do it right. And I try to do them right. Okay, I know there may be some other questions. Let me get through a couple of slides and I want to get you some resources because I'm watching my time. So the benefits of running a Speechcraft program, bar none, are to kickstart your learning. It's to allow these guests to get up to speed really quickly. It gets new members an opportunity to get new members in the door. It gives you a DTM credit for whoever the coordinator is, and you get immediate results if you're a participant. It is a really cool program. It is something that is, it's understated, underutilized, and I don't know why, because it is so powerful. I did some analysis on what the district has been doing, District 21 and 96 over the last 2 years, or last 5 years. And I was shocked to see that so many of those programs that were run by just 2 or 3 clubs in each district. I mean, it was shocking to see how few clubs are actually running, but some of them are really running a lot of them and trying to pump through the members and pump through the guests and getting in opportunities of growth. So take advantage of it. It's a really easy, simple, fun program, and it really helps everybody, including your own members, learn a lot more. So what are the resources available? So I got a QR code on the screen. And in spite of what Louisa posted in the chat, in addition to that, I have my own Google Drive, which I have in there, a Speechcraft guide version 1.1, which I provided as part of my DTM project I did this year, earlier, for my 4th DTM. I have all the education presentations for every one of the ed sessions. I have a presentation I created. My favorite one is, I think it's about the outline. I can't remember what it's called now. And it's the hamburger. There's a hamburger on I get into the hamburger, and it's what talks about what you're delivering as far as a speech goes. And the opening, the body, and the conclusion, and the meat is the hamburger and all kinds of things. I mean, it's my hamburger speech. I love that one. So I have a whole bunch of presentations that are there. You can download them, use them, feel free. Give me credit if you can, but I don't really care. I'm not going to sue you or charge you with plagiarizing. There's flyers in there, the Speechcraft flyers. There's the Pathways credit sheet that tells you what you get credit for. This presentation is loaded into that drive, that Google Drive, and there's a coordinator's guide, which you can download directly when you go to speechcraft.toastmasters.org, but it's right here as well. So if anyone is having a problem with that QR code, let me know, but you should be able to hold your camera up there and take you right to that Google Drive. And if it doesn't work, let me know, because I want to make sure that you're able to get all of those handouts and resources that I provided for you. And that nice thing, you know, anyone having a problem, put your hand up. I can't see it, but put your hand up if you're having a problem. Looks like you got it, right? Is that Jan saying you got it, or Jan saying you don't have it? I think there's thumbs up. I can't
Yeah.
tell.
I can't see my own camera, but yes, got it.
It's
Okay,
working for
good.
you, Jen?
Oh,
Okay, good.
yeah, sorry, my light's not good.
All right, let's move on then to the next
Wonderful. Thanks.
second last page. Speechcraft is similar to Pathways. It's not the same, but it's faster, it's a start, it's flexible, and it really can help your clubs grow. Take advantage of it, don't miss out. And if you have any questions, let's jump to the questions. And I'm going to stop sharing. Oops, stop sharing. What the heck am I doing there? Stop sharing. There we go. Now I can see it. All right. How'd that go?
Fantastic.
I lost some of you. I lost
We
four
are
of you.
we are speechless, actually. If I could go there. That was great. Does anyone have any burning thoughts, anything top of mind that they would like to ask Mr. Gold? We're calling him
Shawn,
Mr. Gold just because we've got two Shawns online, but yes.
as opposed to Mr. O'Hara.
I have one question from somebody who did not or was not able to join tonight, but when organizing Speechcraft geared towards bringing in non-members, what are some suggestions around niche groups that this could work for? In a few short words.
There are so many niche groups. People who are young, wanting to look for a job. I like the ones that are engineers. Engineers in their number, or accountants. Sorry, Mark, but you know, there are people who work with numbers, who work with deep data, and really or don't want to meet the public, don't want to be in front of people, but they're forced by their job to go out and meet customers or meet other people, and they get tongue-tied, they get frustrated with that. Those are the people, but those are the same people you're going to go with for membership. But look for the people who are looking to do something in a hurry. They don't have time, or at least they say they don't have time to go into to join a, they're not into looking to join a club. They just want to get the skills and then move on. And while you've got them for that 4, 6, 8, 10, 15, whatever weeks you got them for, make sure that they see the value of not just being in that program, but staying and what they can get from that. That's your job when you're running a Speechcraft program, is to make sure that they see the opportunities that they can get to by staying with it.
Thank you so much. That was great. That was great. That I think I have a few underwriters on my insurance team that enjoy Speechcraft. Maybe that'll be my DTM project.
We opened a
so
club
much.
with it last year
Mm-hmm.
with the empowering entrepreneurs. So it was an entrepreneurs club. The information session, we had 4 people, and I thought, oh, I don't know. But we said, everybody bring somebody that you know that you think might be able to do this. The next week there was 8. After that it was 14, and we ended up having 15 in the program. And when you have 15 speech crafters, what we did is we had one main room. We gave a couple of education sessions, and then we broke them out into 4 different breakout rooms. It was a school, and they gave their speech and they evaluated someone else's speech. So they were sort of going circles up until the break time. And in each room, we had one coordinator. There was the timer, the general evaluator, for want of a better expression. After the break, they came back. We did another education session. Then we paired them off with existing members for them to talk about what their next speech project would be about. And then we did table topics if we had time, and that was the end of the meeting, and that worked really well. And then they ended up chartering a couple months later. My mistake was charging a very low fee and not getting them to register and sign up. They were like, nope, we're good. And a lot of them disappeared after the session happened. So if I do it again, I would charge them the 6 months of membership because there was that much value. By the end of the 8 weeks, they were doing business with each other. They saw the value, and we eventually got to 20 members and chartered, and they're still going.
Great.
Very cool.
Yeah.
That's a great success story. And I think we can recreate that maybe a few times over before the end of the month, or at least before the end of the year, but start before the end of the month, right? Thank you, thank you. I think we are running up to the end of the hour, but please join me for a round of applause for our Speechcraft presenter tonight. Both Mark and Shawn, you did fantastic. Would love to turn it back now to Sephora to just remind us about a few things that might help us remember these two presentations. Please, Sephora.
Thank you, Melody. Wow, I'm speechless. Thank you, Mark and Shawn, for those inspiring and practical presentations. Let's take a moment to tie everything together. Here's the big picture. The open house is where inspiration begins. It's your chance to showcase Toastmasters and help guests see what's possible. Speechcraft takes that inspiration further. It provides a structured path for guests to experience growth, gain confidence, and naturally transition into membership. And the 101 Week Challenge unites us as a district, celebrating 101 years of transformation, connection, and leadership through communication. From Shawn's session, we learned that Speechcraft and Pathways go hand in hand. Both offer hands-on learning experiences and help people become better communicators and leaders. But Speechcraft moves at a faster pace, ideal for guests or prospective members who want to test drive Toastmasters before joining. It's flexible. Clubs can want it fully integrated, partially integrated, or even separate from regular meetings. And best of all, it's a bridge to membership, a practical, proven way to grow clubs while empowering new voices. I have a host, I think it was at the beginning of the year at my club, Banabi Toasters, a Speechcraft event. And at the end of the session, all the guests joined the club. And we are able to really get all the members that we have for our DCP program. So I'm really encouraging you to embrace this opportunity that you have to hold a Speechcraft in your club. Remember, whether your club hosts an open house, a speakathon, or a Speechcraft, you are helping carry forward 101 years of legacy. Now, let me quickly remind you the incentives for the 101 challenge. Every qualifying club that registers, hosts, and reports their event will be entered into their division's prize draw for a district conference ticket valued at $150. One winning club per division. Clubs with 15 or fewer members earn 2 bonus tickets per new member added between October 18 and November 28th before the Hall of Fame. Clubs with more than 15 members earn 1 bonus ticket per new member during that same period. This is our moment to celebrate, to grow and rise together as clubs, as areas, and as a united district. So let's make this year one where we give back to Toastmasters what it has given us. Opportunity, growth, and connection. Thank you all. I can't wait to see how your clubs will shine during the 101 Week Challenge. Now it's my pleasure to return the microphone to our Program Quality Director. To start, Melody.
Thank you so much. I'm excited to see who will be up to the challenge. I have a feeling that everybody online here with us does care and embrace our DCP, probably had their CSP in nice and early and are gung-ho about showing up on the dashboard. So I am excited for all of you. And I really, really appreciate you joining in tonight. I want to test us a little bit. I've made a poll. We haven't done a poll in a while. And so I do hope you're listening. And let's see how close it is that you are listening. Hopefully you can see that poll up on screen. Give me a nod, yes or no. Okay, everybody take a moment. There are 6 questions. I won't vote, but I'm not sure if our co-hosts can, but okay,
No,
co-hosts
co-host
can't.
can't.
Okay, co-hosts, you'd be cheating anyways, but for our attendees tonight, test your knowledge. I'll read the questions out loud, but take your time and take a moment. The first question is, what is the main purpose of a Toastmasters guest event or open house? Second question, what should guests be encouraged to do before leaving a guest event or an open house? What is Speechcraft in Toastmasters? A few different definitions there. What is the typical length of a Speechcraft program? So very, very clever, Shawn, for mentioning that a few times. And then second last question, how old is Toastmasters International turning this year? If you look around, there might be a few hints in the room, in our virtual meeting room tonight. And then last, what week is our District 21 guest event and Speechcraft challenge happening? So take a moment. There are 6 questions. Give it about 30 seconds. For those of you that have already voted, I'd love your comments on how we did tonight. If you have any last sort of words of encouragement or any ideas that you'd like to share in the chat, please do so. But I'll end the poll in about 30 seconds from here. Louisa, any final words that you'd like to share before we close off our poll?
I think that you would be foolish not to run a Speechcraft this year. And it would be a great opportunity to take on the 101 challenge, host a guest event, and give an information session on your Speechcraft and what date and time you're going to be launching it during that same time. So I can see both presentations tonight being taken advantage of. And now's the time to do it. Don't wait till you start bumping up against December.
The time is now, is what we're trying to say. Thank you, Louisa. Thanks to all the presenters. I'm going to end the poll now, and the results to be shared. I hope that does appear for you up on screen. So the correct answer to number 1, what is the main purpose of Toastmasters guest event open house? It's to attract guests and showcase the club experience, as Mark told us so. It's definitely not to review the club's financial records. I could tell you that, and good thing nobody picked that one. What should guests be doing, encouraged to do before leaving a guest open house? Submit a membership application. Have your stack ready. Have your PDF electronic copies ready. If you're doing it virtual, hybrid, have them ready. Don't say bye without the membership application in hand as your close. What is Speechcraft in Toastmasters? 100% there with it is a short-term program that introduces people to public speaking and leadership. I would also add to that it is a club growth tool. Again, all driving your DCP goals on the dashboard. What is the typical length of a Speechcraft program? So this one was a little tricky. Anywhere between 48 sessions. Now, a session or sessions can be however long it is that it takes you to do those sessions. So it was sort of a trick. You know, between 4 to 8 sessions, again, you can be the master of what that looks like at the end of the day. Second last question. How old is Toastmasters International turning this year? We are turning 101 years. So we actually had this virtual background made about 5 minutes before we started by Shawn Gold. And so message us if you're looking to get into the spirit, because it's pretty good. And then lastly, what week is our District 21 guest event and Speechcraft challenge happening? And so we had the majority of the group answer correctly, and that is October 18th to the 25th. So please embrace your guest event, open houses, start your Speechcraft challenges, and you're planning now. Get in on the 101 spirit, and we hope to announce the winners and send out some prizes and announce those near the end of November. All right, we're 2 minutes over, but I think it was 2 minutes well spent. Thank you, everybody. And we will be posting this recording for our fellow Toastmasters to watch and review, and also get into the spirit of the challenge and all the learnings today. So thank you, everybody, and good night.
Thank you, Melody. Thank you, everybody. Thank you to our trainers tonight.